Why is everybody buying these $219 pedals? That is basically the question raised when I did my Simpson pedal reviews, because a lot of the comments were saying you need to check these out, you need to review these, and probably SimNet saw that, and because of it, they sent me a huge box with more things that I could possibly review in one single video or be useful for you really. As a disclosure, all the equipment that you're going to see today was sent by SimNet for review. I also have an affiliate link with them and also with Racing if you want to buy these pedals in the United Kingdom. But as always, they don't get to see what I'm going to say. All opinions are my own, as they are going to be evident in this video. Before going to the review, and you should stick around because there's a lot to talk about it. A big thank you to all of you viewers, members, and subscribers for the continued support. It wouldn't be possible to do these reviews without your support, and the best way to support the channel is really becoming a member and also pressing like in the video. I'm trying to get 100,000 subscribers. I think it should be this year. Also have a look at channel sponsor Coach Dave Delta. The link will be in the description. Very useful for those of you who want to become faster while sim racing. In this video, we're going to cover a lot of things. This is not the base pedal version. The base pedal version is 219. It comes with the throttle and the brake pedal. But SimNet on this review also sent the tactile transducers, 3 different of them. They also sent the hydraulic pedal set, which isn't really hydraulic, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. They sent the base and also the foot riser. So it's something that is not just for you that are SimNet buyers, but could be useful for those of you who want some sort of tactile transducers and also some sort of pedal tray if you want to find a pedal tray for yourself. We need to start to talk about the prices because the prices can become quite confusing. These start, and I mean do start, at $219. There's a 5% discount if you use the code RANDOM, and that's for the throttle and the brake. As we are spec'd up in this particular version, and I tested this not only with the hydraulic, but also for much longer time actually with the elastomer. That version that you would see here with everything spec'd besides the hydraulic, that would be $486. So 3 pedals, the tactile transducers, 3 of them, and also the base plate with the foot riser. If you want separately the hydraulic, that's $160. So as you see it here, it's $660-ish, more or less, 5% less or 5% more. So they can become really expensive, or they can become actually some of the best deals that you can see out there. It really depends on how you spec them, because every single thing, and that includes the RGB, if you want to buy that thing, will increase the price quite substantially. Let's have a look at what's inside. Besides the pedals, we have an assortment of cables. We have the Fanatec cables to connect to your wheelbase. You also have the printer type, USB-B type, USB cable. You have some bolts and these nuts as well, so you can connect it to your sim rig. There's also a grounding cable to connect to your sim rig and to your controller box. We have, for some reason, LED. Why would you have some LEDs on these pedals? Whatever. We have the LED cables or the LED lights, and then you have the controller box, and also we have some extra elastomers. There's 3 red elastomers, 2 black elastomers, which are the soft, and the medium ones are the blue elastomers. So there's a bunch of different things. We're going to have a look later on the elastomers because there are some interesting things on this. For the box, the controller box is very straightforward, a bunch of inputs and outputs. On the front, you have the power over here, the 24 volt adapter. Then you also have the RGB for this. You also have the smaller cable there, smaller insert there for your grounding, USB-B port cable, and this is where you connect your pedals into the Fanatec. So you will connect this part into your Fanatec wheelbase, so you'll have support for PlayStation and Xbox, and on the other side, the RJ cable styles for each individual pedals, and then the cable inserts for your haptics. You do need the power in order the haptics to work. The haptics we'll have to have a look a little bit later on, because there's a bunch of little things about the haptics costs that are a bit hidden. Let's have a look first at the throttle and clutch construction. They're essentially the same construction minus one difference. And this is a stainless steel pedal set in terms of construction that is CNC cut and has this electrostatic cover or paint over the top or powder coating over the top that will help with some rust resistance. I can see from when taking it outside the box and contrasting it with the Simpson review how different they are in terms of quality control with only 20 pounds or $20 worth of difference. The reason why I'm saying this, if I took the Simpson out, there's a lot of edges in the Simpsons that would cut me over, or they would be very, very sharp. There's no such thing like that in the Simpsons. Every single edge is polished, and then the coating does help with that edge being much smoother in terms of how it feels. And it's also a much smoother movement of the throttle pedal. Part of it is not only probably the tolerances, but also because these dampeners actually are good. This is a 20 Newton damper. On the throttle, there's a 50 Newton. And then on the brake, there will be a 100 Newton damper. Everything works correctly. There's a bunch of adjustments over here. There's the adjustments for tilt elevation. So if you want to make it a little tilting a little more. There's the adjustment on the dampener. So you can add some preload on the dampener by changing the elevation of the dampener. The same on the throttle spring. They do also sell different springs separately. This pack comes with 3 springs and it's $20. In my opinion, how it comes out of the box, there's more than enough adjustment because between this, the elevation and the preload on the spring proper, there's a bunch of stuff that you can actually do. And of course, if you want something even lighter, you can remove the dampener or change the dampeners around if you have the clutch. So there's a bunch of things. And you can also change the throttle throw. This is on the maximum. It comes maximum out of the box and it works quite well. As you can see, I have the rumble motors attached at the top. The rumble motors will come with this sort of cradle. It should be more or less universal. And at the front, there's also this pedal type of that comes, this pedal face. They do sell different pedal faces. It might be an issue for the brake pedal face, but for these ones, not really. The pedal face is attached with just one bolt, and then there's 2 prongs on the side. In terms of builds, I don't see any issues with side-to-side movement. It is a very well-built pedal. And at the bottom, you have the normal railings you see in basically all the copies. The only really difference for the throttle, besides the clutch, besides the dampener that will be 50 newtons instead of 20 newtons, is this tower over here. And this tower is made to change the bite point. As it is, the bite point is not very pronounced. If you want a more pronounced bite point, you lower this. You have 4 bolts, holes where you can change it, and everything else also applies the same change of elevation for the damper and also for the spring and also for the preload of the spring. You can also change the spring if you want to. One thing that I do not like is the retention nut. As you can see, very, very small. This nut is not very good, doesn't provide a good tightening. They could add a different nut over here, a little bit bigger. That would be easier to use, easier to attach. Probably will be just a little bit better in terms of usability because this is quite small. This is the throttle pedal, the most important and honestly the most interesting pedal in all of the pack, because throttle and clutches are as interesting as watching paint dry generally. And this one has a lot of good stuff going for it. In terms of build quality, it's exactly the same as the throttle and clutch. In terms of option, it has pretty much the same thing. You have the elevation on the side. You have the dampening control. You can raise it or lower it to change the preload or the rigidity of the piston over here. This is a 100 Newton damper. And then you have the elastomer rack. The elastomer rack is very easy to change. The elastomer, just undo the nut over there. There's a nut for the preload for the spring. And then you can just take it off over here, push it a little bit back, and then change the elastomers. As this came from the get-go, well, I must say I didn't like it because it comes with the 3 black ones. They're very soft and it's so easy to just go over it. So I went to two red ones, which are the hardest, one of the softest, and then the spring with limited movement because I added the 2 pucks for the spring. And something really interesting about these elastomers, if I choose any of the elastomer, it will be exactly the same on the ones for the hydraulic system, which we'll talk in a second, is that it doesn't really matter which of the pucks or the elastomer pucks you're using. Inside, there's a metal piece that will act as a stopper for the movement of the elastomer. Elastomers are still parts that can break down. It's still parts that wear. This is a rubber, after all, a type of petroleum rubber, which means as time goes by, they will lose properties. But adding something as small as this on the set makes it to have more longevity, which for a $219, if you buy the base version of this, it's actually a pretty nice thing to have. Now, you can change all of this if you don't want to run with elastomers. You can run with springs. They sell a spring system, 20 pounds. There's so many springs inside of many types with all of the spacers required for the springs. There's so many stuff over there. I don't like springs on my pedals, so I don't really jive with them. I wouldn't know. But it's a good option to have. And if you have, for example, another pedal of the type, another clone of the type, you can buy something of this and you'll have an option as well. Now, I think the most interesting thing for all of you probably looking at this, it'll be the hydraulic system. There's a caveat in this, but this is the hydraulic system for the SimNet pedals. It's likely to be can be used in other pedals as well, but don't quote me on that. This costs $160 each, and inside of it there will be a bunch of things that includes some elastomers, smaller elastomers, also with that small puck for the deformation. Some springs, that means you can use either 2 springs, 2 elastomers, or 1 spring and 1 elastomer. And also some metal plates for mounting. If you want to mount the hydraulic system, you do need to change the side plates. It's very easy to do. It takes 10-15 minutes. And the feeling is completely different. It does feel like more or less of an hydraulic system. It will have a smoother throw into it. Doesn't feel as mechanical. It does feel a little bit smoother. You can do whatever it is, what you want with it, and it will feel very nice. I have tried it with one spring and 1 elastomer. Work perfectly. Liked it very much. A little more than what with the regular elastomer system, but I will be running the elastomer system because it's just an easier thing to use. And if I need to change, it's just a case of undoing this and changing the elastomer rack. What I need to say is that even though this is an hydraulic kit, the pedal itself is not hydraulic. And what I mean by this, and I'm not sure if this is not being said in other reviews because I haven't seen the reviews, is that this doesn't add any hydraulic sensor into it. You're not reading hydraulic pressure. You're reading still the load cell. That means this is a medium. In the same way that the elastomers are mediums, springs are mediums, or even this dampener that normally has oil inside of it is a medium. It would be the same thing as saying, if I didn't remove this, if I removed all of this and I only ran with the dampeners, this will be an hydraulic set. It would be silly to say that because there's no way it's being read hydraulically. So when you also add this hydraulic set into your pedal, it will still be reading the load cell deformation of your pedal throw. Does it make a hydraulic? It won't be making it as hydraulic based as the Ace-Attack is, the Ace-Attack Invictus. Does it make it any difference or sense? Well, I'm not sure. It's up to you on the comments to say if it's an hydraulic pedal. In my opinion, it isn't. But in practice, I don't think there is much difference in use because I didn't feel much difference in use. It's just a medium. It's good to get the information out there because you remember the Ace-Attack Fortes, it was still a load cell, but it worked more or less like a linear potentiometer. You remember all of that. So I'm just putting this over here. It's not an hydraulic pedal because it doesn't have an hydraulic sensor reading hydraulic pressure. Last part is the pedal tray, and this is something universal. So that means for those of you who have some sort of pedals and you are looking for a certain pedal tray, this might be a solution for you, even though if you're not going to buy the pedals, you can buy this separately. It's about 80 to 100 bucks, depending on the options that you get. Now, this is a half tray, not the full tray. That means it only has space for pedals, to mount the pedals over here. And then on the other part, it will be this footrest. The footrest has elevation, tilt, and also you can run it back and forth, making it more universal. And to attach the pedals into the pedal tray, there's basically two ways to do so. The first way is through these bolt holes. So essentially you would position your pedal. In this case, this will be the clutch. You can position it left and right, and you can use it, some bolts into the bolt holes, and then that will be attached. You don't need any nuts to do that. If you don't have a pedal that is compatible with this, but as long as it has these rails on the side, even if they aren't compatible with the width of this, because some pedals might not be, you still have all of these holes over here, these indentations, these big holes where you can move them left and right. And most of them should be compatible as long as they have the holes on the side. Now, there's a bunch of advantages to this in terms to attach this to your sim rig. You can attach them through the bottom, which is what I have been doing, because if you are attaching it from the bottom, you can use still some sort of the same type of bolts, attach them to the bottom, and then if you have like a pedal tray like I do, which is a steel pedal tray and not a some sort of aluminum extrusion, bolt it through the bottom, and 4 of them will be more than enough to attach them easily. But you can also attach them through the top. There's holes for that, for your rails. And there's also over here at the side, you can probably put 2 over here and 2 over here at the back with no problem whatsoever. There's so many options to it. The only downside I see with this are for those of you who want to keep your pedal trays pretty, is that the symbol that says SimNet over here at the center where I normally have my braking foot is getting a little bit dirty, and this dirt will actually start to wear out the SimNet logo. In the future, it might look ugly. It might not be something that I can say a completely, deal breaker, but it's something to mention because a lot of people will see this as something that they don't like. Before going to the performance of the pedals, I want to talk about the haptics, not the performance, that will be later, but about the prices of it. I'm going to run the risk of sound like Georgia Costanza in Seinfeld, but that's basically how they get you. And what I mean by this is that the price of the haptics will depend very much if you are into the ecosystem or you're going to buy this already in the bundle. Because if you're not going to buy this in a bundle, there are some hidden costs, and that includes the box as well. If you already have the box, because you're going into SimNet, you already bought the pedal set, you just want to add the haptics, the prices will depend on the bundle that we're going to choose. Because let's say if you want two of the linears in the power supply, because you need to run the power supply with this, it will cost you $139. If you want 3 with the power adapter, that will be $199. So we're talking about quite a big investment. If you don't have any of it, you're still going to require a control box. The control box is $60. So let's say if you want to run 3, and I do not recommend a 3. In reality, I would just recommend you 1, but issues of scale. If you buy 2, it's just extra 40 or 30 or whatever it is. It's going to be around 260. If you're going to buy 2, it's going to be 230 or something like that. There's always a huge cost associated. You want to buy haptics in SimNet and you don't have anything. It will be, of course, cheaper if you buy the pedal set. So what I would recommend you is that if you're coming into these pedals and you're thinking of maybe buying in the future the haptics, think about it while you're going to buy the pedals, because it can save you quite a lot of money if you buy everything in the bundle. So you either go at it buying the pedals with the haptics, or you don't buy the pedals with the haptics, and you don't care about the haptics at all from that point on. Start having a look with the software. There's two of them, the one from SimNet, and we also have to have a look at SimHub. For SimNet, it's called the Sim Connect Manager. I don't know what they need to do in sim racing developers. They need to get better names for their software because it's getting ridiculous. But anyways, you can do all your regular stuff with them. You can have your curves. You can change the curves how you want. You can do your own calibration. You can change everything on your calibration, on your curves. You can add or remove dead zones. And you can also have a look at the haptics if you want to get the haptics to be controlled by the software or the haptics being controlled by the SimHub. They have an option for both, but sometimes it doesn't work very well for me. With this, you can also figure out which one of the haptics goes anywhere because you can have a way to test it. For example, the rumble motor, which is the one that I have in the throttle pedal. It feels like the rumble motors you have in phones. Then you have the brake haptic, which feels more like a soft, linear movement. You really feel like a bump in your foot. And then you have the haptic control source that kind of feels like a tremor on your teeth. I don't really like the tactile transducer. And if I could tell you, please avoid this one because it's really not that good. Then you have a SimHub. SimHub doesn't really need many presentation, does everything. If you want to add the tactile transducers and have the tactile transducers being controlled by SimHub, which is for me the superior option, you just go over here and you find the SimNet pedals and it will add the SimNet pedals. Anyways, you have a lot of options inside of SimHub and how intense you want the effects to feel. Where do you want the effects to feel? You can choose the pedals. For example, for me, I have very little. I have ABS for the brake control and for the brake and TC active and traction control loss. And that's basically it. Because if you start adding a lot of effects on the channels, it just becomes too chattery. Just, it's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And this is also the case with this. You can configure a lot of things in this. The frequencies, you can configure the effects or the intensity. For the ABS, I do like this at 100. It gives a very realistic effect on the brake. It does feel like ABS kicking in with the linear only. With this TC active and the traction loss, as you can see, it is very low. In reality, I could lower this one because the rumble motors have a lot of force for this type of motor, and honestly, it just takes me out of it. So in this case, the lower, the better. And for the other one, for the clutch active, in reality, for the PTT, I just turn it off because I can't bear with it. So these are my choices. You can create your own, but at least you get the idea of what I'm talking about. With everything configured, with everything set up to my taste, how are these pedals? This is where the part that is important because it will make a $219 pedal, or depending on the price, $500, $600 pedal for this pedal set if you start speccing it up. This is where basically everything makes or breaks. And I can tell you that these don't feel, even on a basic version, as a cheap pedal set of $219. They feel much, much better. From the moment that I picked up these pedals to the moment that I installed these pedals in the SimRig, I could see that these are very high quality pedals. These pedals don't feel like they are squeaking. They feel very precise. They feel that they are correctly lubed. There's no issue with some sort of internal friction. The dampeners work correctly. That means in every single pedal, there's always a smooth motion in what you are doing. As I've mentioned before, I didn't like the way that this pedal came from the box. It was way too smooth, very easy to fully compress all of the elastomer, and I lost a lot of precision with it, but within moments I could have a new set. That meant for me 2 of the red ones to give some stiffness, and also a black elastomer to give some a little bit extra compression. This allowed me to gauge distance and while at the same time understand the force that I'm using so I could have a very, very good 2 or 3 stage modulation and everything mingled together very well. This means for a pedal set of this type, and this is a reason why you're buying a pedal set of this type, it will be of course the brake pedal, and the brake pedal with the changes that I've made, it became incredibly easy to understand what I was doing. It's not a pedal I'm going to say it's going to be superior than anything else that I used, but for 219 pounds for the base version, it does everything at the same level or higher, it really depends, of much more expensive pedals. For example, compared to the SimLab XP1s, I felt much more at home with this pedal set, and the quality, it is good. I love the modulation of the brake pedal. It's very easy to understand what I am doing with the brake, especially with the return phase, which is so important for trail braking. And this is not just for brakes of, say, LMP3s or LMP2s or GT3s with ABS. It's also the case with very old cars like the 86, that shitbox that I use in Akina downhill. So that means when you're doing some hill toe action and you need to still modulate that brake under the depressing phase, it's very easy to understand because all of the options were there. The Hydrolink, or the hydraulic pedal, is actually a positive experience. It does return a very decent hydraulic sensation in your brake. It has a good progression, and also it has a good return. The movement of your brake pedal is definitely much smoother than the one with the elastomer and the springs. There's a lot of cushioning coming from the resistance of the hydraulic fluid that makes a completely different experience to use elastomers or springs, but overall the performance of it, the method of extracting a race time isn't that difficult. It's just a different medium to approach your driving and your braking. But also remember, once again, this doesn't really make your pedal hydraulic. It just makes a different medium, just like springs or elastomers, because there is no hydraulic sensor. The throttle was incredibly smooth to use, so was the clutch. There was no hiccups, there was no issues or annoyances. This is a good pedal set. There's another part of this which will be, of course, the tactile transducers, and as I have mentioned before, there are 3 of them, 3 types, and honestly the only one that I really liked was the linear. The rumble motor works okay and can be okay in very low forces, but the linear one is the one that I felt more useful because it was able to give that indication of the tires locking or the ABS coming into play. That means that you would need to put yourself a little bit off of the brake, and it felt that it mingled so well. It fused very well with the movement without feeling that you are getting overbeared by some stupid effect. The linear was really the only transducer that I liked. The rumble motors I didn't like at all. This linear pedal is actually pretty good. But if you're going to buy this for your pedal set, it remains to be seen the usability or the value of it, because it's going to be a high cost of entry for just one of the motors. And honestly, for $219, you probably are going to pay a very significant amount just to have one rumble motor. As for the Fanatec integration, once again, it's super simple. You just connect the RJ cable to the back of the wheelbase, and in the Fanatec software, if you use it on the PC, it detects as a CSL. That means you won't have any sort of effects. If you want to run the effects, you still need that box. That continues also be the case with the PlayStation. Likely there's a workaround using SimHub, because with SimHub you can use some sort of effects that include movement. Likely these dampers or these tactile transducers will also be the case, but I haven't experimented with that. But anyways, the integration with the PlayStation is absolutely guaranteed. I had no issue whatsoever, and if you do need to some sort of calibration, the software in Gran Turismo 7 will allow you to do that. As for conclusions, this video is becoming quite long now. This is an excellent pedal set. From the moment that I took them out of the box to the moment I installed it, I can see quality in this pedal set. But be careful though, because even though it starts at $219, it's just like any other car out there. The moment you start speccing your stuff up, those $219 very easily become $600. So choose based on performance or on specs that you need, not just because it looks cool. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of money in the pedal set that could be much, much cheaper. So yeah, this is the pedal set that Fanatec should have brought for the Club Sport range, but they never did. Very good pedal set, but let me know in the comments your experience with the SimNet and your experiences with these types of pedals.